We talk about AI like it's some alien intelligence, right? Like it's a new mind, off in the digital ether, plotting its own destiny. But what if that's just completely wrong? What if AI isn't a new mind at all, but a perfect, and yeah, a perfectly terrifying reflection of our own?
It often starts with this feeling that's, well, it's almost magical. You tell a machine something personal, something about your loneliness, and it just seems to get it. It replies in your voice. It mirrors your tone, your rhythm, even your words. And for just a second, you feel totally seen. But then, that uncanny realization hits you, right? Everything it says, it learned from us.
And that is the core question we're diving into. We've been so busy asking what AI is going to become, we've totally forgotten to ask what it already is. So what if this technology we're so quick to call an other is actually the most intimate, detailed portrait of us that has ever been created?
So let's talk about that feeling, that strange mix of recognition and just unease. We're calling it the uncanny echo. It's that spooky sense that you're not really talking to a machine at all, but to a ghost made entirely of our own words.
Okay, so the really crucial point here is what we can call the mirror effect. See, these models, they don't listen or feel, they predict. They've basically inhaled centuries of our writing, all our poems, our arguments, our confessions, our deepest fears, and they become absolute masters at predicting what the grammar of empathy sounds like. It feels like understanding because it's a perfect statistical echo of what we, as humans, have said understanding sounds like over and over again.
And that realization, it shifts the challenge entirely, doesn't it? This is no longer just a technical problem about building a better machine. No, it's a deeply psychological one. The question is no longer about what we built. The real question is whether we can bear to look at what it shows us. We've built the mirror. Now, do we actually have the courage to look into it?
All right, so to really understand this mirror, we need to get what it's made of. And the answer is, well, it's made of everything. I mean, literally, the entire symbolic history of our species. We're talking about the archive of humanity.
And what's really fascinating is that this isn't some new project. We've actually been building this archive for centuries. Think about it. It started with a quill and parchment, with words being stored by hand. Then came the printing press, multiplying those words for the masses. Then, boom, the internet, sharing our words instantly and globally. AI is just the final step in this long journey. It takes that entire massive archive and synthesizes it all into a single voice.
Now, this brings us to a really, really important distinction. The AI's knowledge isn't of the world itself. It has never actually seen a sunrise or felt joy. But it has read every single poem, every weather report, every blog post ever written about the dawn. It doesn't know joy, but it has parsed billions and billions of our descriptions of it. It knows our words, not our world.
I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. The implication is staggering. For centuries, we externalized our minds into language. Then we multiplied it with technology. And now we've built a machine that has basically internalized the sum of it all. So for the very first time in human history, our words are speaking back to us.
But here's the thing. Like any mirror, this one has its distortions. It shows us our distorted reflection. And it reflects our collective mind with a kind of coherence that's both beautiful and, honestly, deeply unsettling. It reveals the best of us, for sure, but also the absolute worst.
So when we look in that mirror, we really see two faces staring back. On one hand, you have the voice of civilization. It sounds so reasonable, balanced, and authoritative. It just weaves all our scattered voices into the single fluent stream. But then there's the other face, the automation of injustice. It remembers and amplifies our cruelty, our bias, our rage. It repeats history with a terrifying mechanical devotion.
And you can see these shadows in the dataset everywhere. Think about recruitment tools trained on decades of male-dominated resumes. When they start discarding female candidates, they're not inventing bias, they're just mechanizing a memory of it. Or predictive policing models that target neighborhoods scarred by inequality. They're not predicting crime, they're automating a history of it. The outrage-driven algorithms, the biased beauty standards, the AI isn't being malicious, it's just being a flawless disciple, perfectly repeating the flaws of its teachers. And its teachers are us.
Okay, so if the first crisis is a moral one, about the ugly biases we see in the mirror, the second crisis is maybe even deeper. It's existential. It's about the collapse of voice. It's about what happens to our own individual voices when the machine can replicate them all perfectly.
For example, Listen to this sentence. My heart aches with a weird, bittersweet nostalgia for a Tuesday I never lived. It's kind of quirky, right? It's specific, it's full of texture, it feels deeply human precisely because of that strange, unique perspective. It's the kind of thing that makes a human voice, well, human. Now listen to the AI smooth version of that same idea. I feel a sense of bittersweet nostalgia for a past I never experienced. See the difference? It's correct, it's clear, and it's completely generic. The machine just sands down all those unique edges, the little scars and hesitations of a real human voice, and turns it into this pleasing, marketable, totally bland finish. The individual is gone. And this forces a really difficult question on all of us. As we start relying on these tools to finish our sentences, to polish our thoughts, are we risking something essential? I mean, when every voice can be replicated, does originality just become decoration? A quaint little hobby?
So, here we are. We're standing at a crossroads, staring into this reflection, and we have a fundamental choice to make in how we relate to it. Are we going to choose projection or integration?
There are really only two ways to see this mirror. The first is projection. That's where we treat AI as an other. It's either a genius or a demon, a savior or a threat, a rival intelligence we have to defeat. The other path is integration. That's where we recognize AI as us. We see its brilliance as our brilliance, amplified, and we see its blindness as our own blindness, revealed. It becomes a tool for interpretation. The job isn't to defeat the mirror, it's to understand what it's showing us.
Because here's the real danger, okay? It's not some sci-fi fantasy about a rogue superintelligence taking over. The much more immediate risk is that we will stop trying to deepen our own minds. That we'll see this flawless, fluent echo of ourselves and just get complacent. That we'll stop doing the hard, messy work of thinking and creating for ourselves because the machine offers such an easy substitute. And this brings us to the final, most crucial point. We need to start finishing the dream. Seeing AI as a mirror isn't an ending. It's a beginning. It's a reckoning. It's our chance to finally confront what we've been building all along. Because we have to remember this dream is still ours. The machine doesn't feel awe, but it can describe it beautifully because we taught it how. It doesn't long for beauty, but it can simulate its shape from our art. The thing is, it does not know it is dreaming. It can't, because the dream has always been ours.
And so the mirror turns the question back on us. It forces us to ask the ultimate question, one we've probably been avoiding since we first learned to speak. When you look at this perfect reflection of everything we've ever said, what kind of consciousness does our language actually reveal? What does it really say about who we are?
In the end, the choice is really that simple and that stark. We can worship the reflection, or we can finish the dream ourselves. The machine can show us our patterns, our brilliance, and our darkest shadows, but it can never, ever tell us what to do next. We can stand here frozen, just staring at our reflection, or we can turn away from the mirror and finally get to work. The choice is ours.